Well, excited.
I know, me too, me too.
Yay.
I, it was about time, long overdue, that we have been
Yeah.
trying to make this happen with each other.
And I think this will be a really good preview for people. Honestly, for anyone that's listening now, I'm gonna try and touch on a few things. Honestly, this keeps evolving because anyone that's been kind of following the weight loss stuff and things, gosh, if you're not on Twitter or X or whatever it is now, keeping up with all the changes, wasn't the same conversation 3 or 4 weeks ago as it is right now. So, definitely an evolving space for sure.
I know, I can't wait. I feel like there's not a day that goes by I don't get a question. Kind of what when you and I were together, when I came to see you, right, in Austin about making money, which we're going to dive into. So we're so excited you guys are here. How to make money, how to maximize revenue, how to launch these programs. People have been really, really excited. Um,
But but I think, and for anyone that's kind of listening already, earlier I think I saw, I can't see it now, but that we had a few people that were on already. I mean, I think this really, all the changes that have happened over the last, gosh, month, 6 weeks stuff, it has been absolutely prime into what you and I have both been talking about. That if you only have a program based on a medication, you're held hostage by a single medication, and I think it's the diversity. We've even seen it in some of the private equity world stuff. I know that you have a lot of connections with them, a lot of my friends and colleagues, and they reach out to us. And I mean, it's what's been interesting. It's been interesting being on some of these advisory boards and even taking some investor call stuff things. But I think nobody that's investing a significant amount of money wants to put all their eggs in one basket. And I think some of the stuff you'll see here, helps diversify the programs because I don't think anybody knows where the dust is going to settle. And I'm going to share a few little tidbit stuff things, but it's been an interesting roller coaster ride in terms of this. But some of the stats were even interesting for me. I try to spend, a couple hours each week just kind of searching the internet of new press, other stuff, things, journal things that come out, because I think there's so many things that catch people off guard about some of this, and trying to make this updated and meaningful for people.
No, I know, I can't wait. And I'm looking at the list of attendees. I just want to give a shout out to a ton of people. I see so many beautiful names, amazing faces, new clients, old clients. Yeah, like a lot of great people. So thank you guys, number one, for, showing up, for being present, for being interested. One, not just about this weight loss revolution craze, but more importantly, just, look, we're coming off of a holiday. It's the last month of Q3. We know the industry's down as a whole. And Johnny and I are going to just dive right in, to this program, but more importantly, what it means to yourself, to your practice, to your clients, for maximization of revenue, for global expansion of your business, for lifetime value and retention. Johnny, did I miss anything?
No, for those people that were tuning in as we logged on stuff, I do apologize ahead of time. I got two little Frenchy puppies here, so if you hear any little bark stuff, I am stocked up with little treat stuff. So I got their platters, but I feel like they hold me hostage, and they know this already.
Well, listen, I think, you're such a big proponent on social. I think everybody knows there's always behind the scenes kind of stuff. So let's just dive right in. I'm going to ask you guys if you have any questions, please raise your hand, raise your hand. Don't be shy. We're going to dive into the deck and then leave some Q&A at the end. And then we do have a special offer for you guys that have taken advantage to show up this evening with us to talk about his program and our 4S Summit that's going to be happening in December, and how you guys can set yourself up for success in 2025. So, Dr. Franco, I'm going to let you just dive right in and take over.
Yeah, and the thing about the 4S, I mean, it'll be super interesting. And I think anyone that has heard me talk, some of the overall concepts are the same, but a lot of things have changed. And we already have an outline between now and then, but I bet you'll probably get 5 or 6 revisions from me between now and December, just because one of the things I think you and I both believe in is that, talking about the same thing without being in touch with what's going on right now, I think is a disservice to the people that take time out of their busy schedules to come in here. I'll tell you one thing I hold super personal is everybody's time is super valuable, and it's something you can't get back. And an evening like this, you could be spending it with your kids, you could be watching football, you could be doing anything you want in the world stuff. So the fact that you give up your time here, I hope this is super valuable too. So let me jump into it and stop chatting and get to the good stuff. These are my disclosures just for whatever it's worth. The objectives for tonight, and really the biggest one, and I put it in here, this is something that has really evolved over the last couple, months, and really over the last probably 3 or 4 weeks has become a huge thing is your weight loss or wellness program a prescription program, or is it a true program that has something? Because if the only thing that you offer is, one medication, I think it's hard to call that a true program in terms of things. And I think you're being held hostage by, one thing that is very fluctuant right now. And we'll get into some of those. There's definitely this wellness wave, but if you look at it, there's more to a wellness wave than just weight loss. Weight loss is no question the hottest topic in the news, the hottest topic, out in social media. It's everywhere in terms of things, but it's just a part of this. And I'm going to share a few cute, cool stats with you, but I also want to share some ideas that it's going to help differentiate this. I tell people, if you think about, when you've added Botox or other toxin stuff things, I mean, if your only key to this is a race to the cheapest, it's going to be hard to survive. And I'll tell you, Eli Lilly has made a push, and they are going to try and vary price stuff things. So I think there really has to be value in terms of this, and we'll get into some of that. So hopefully this is interesting for you guys. I'll tell you, it's been an evolving landscape even over the last couple of months. I don't think that most people would have known this, or you would have put your life savings into Eli Lilly stock probably about 2 or 3 years ago, pulled out now, and you wouldn't be bothering on this webinar because you'd be sitting in the Bahamas somewhere in your mansion with your 500% return on investment stuff there, which was crazy. But the amount that this has taken off, so annual sales has absolutely just exploded in terms of the amount in terms of weight loss. So annual sales, by 2030 will be 160 billion, if you can even imagine that. But the weight loss industry, and that's just for the medications, okay? But if you look at the weight loss industry itself, last year, it already did 90 billion in sales. And that is just the overall weight loss industry. And the reason I bring that up is there's more to it than just the medications. And I think there's a lot of opportunities there. But on the flip side, because this was a stat that I thought was super interesting, and I didn't even, realize this myself, there's actually a decrease in weight loss coaches, by almost 27,000 jobs over the last 3 years. And it just shows you, a lot of people for a period here, and I think this pendulum is changing a little bit, got so fixated on I'm just going to take this shot. I don't need to do anything else. And anybody listening that's in the fitness world knows that if you're just solely dependent on the medication, that's not a long-term recipe for success. And I think this is where we'll get into building the program around some of these things. The other thing, in terms of, we talk about magnet leads or how do you drive more patients into your office. The one nice thing about this is it's such a hot topic. There was almost 900 million spent on advertising for weight loss in 2023. So the nice thing about this, most people are like, well, I wish companies would spend more marketing. I wish they would spend more getting, brand advertisement out there. They're doing it. 900 million in advertising is a massive amount. So there is a buzz. And that's not even all just the regular social chat that you see out there. The weight loss drugs themselves, you're going to see how much they're going to exponentially grow over time in just the United States. So a lot of cool stuff things in terms of this. The rapid evolution and growth, and this is what we were talking about at the beginning, this landscape has changed quickly. If anybody kind of knows, Eli Lilly has sent out some demand letters. So if you're using their name brand, inappropriately, they will do it. They've also sent some demand letters to practices that have done this in terms of things. If anybody has seen recently, they advertised a cash price for a vial at the 2 lowest doses of terzipatide to be able to cost compete with people about some of those things. So, and I put an extra dot stuff there. Should have been like 16 dots, because I think there's more things to come. And if your, whole program is just based on this, I think it's going to be a struggle over the time, because they are truly, truly working on ways to decrease that and hold market. I think some of this has come that they thought that they would own more of the market share from Nova, and hasn't evolved maybe quite as quickly as they had hoped, wanted in terms of things. So I think they're really looking for other opportunities in terms of things. Our practice at this point still sees over 1,800 weight loss patients per month. I get the feedback a lot of times that people have missed the boat. At this point, there's nobody else, looking for weight loss stuff. Remember, we see a very slanted view of this, right? In our circle, as healthcare professionals in the med spa industry and the beauty industry, we see a very slanted view of this. There's still over 27,000 new Wegovy patients per week in the United States. And Wegovy is probably the least used medication of this. So, the idea that everybody is on this is completely wrong. Actually, it's in the single digits in terms of percentage of people that are on these medications. I also think that you're going to see some other evolution stuff as there's more indications for these medications. So I think a lot more to come. And anyone who didn't see, here in March, the Oprah Winfrey talk about this, there's actually been a mindset change to this, in terms of what is the weight loss done. I think Oprah has changed her theme about this. You've seen some of the celebrity memes where, hey, are you on Ozempic, has become like the Ozempic compliment, because it means that you look good, you're in a fabulous spot stuff. So I think the perception of these medications has changed. Terri and I talk about this a lot, and she can jump in at any time, but, I'm not telling that every med spa, every plastic surgery clinic needs to be a weight loss clinic. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. I want to make that super clear. But I think to not, take opportunity of how many people are on these medications, how many people are talking about this, because whether or not they need to be on it, people are talking about them and being part of that conversation, and you decide what's right for your practice, for your kind of overall vision of this. What my vision and Terri's and whoever else, isn't going to be the same in terms of how we see this, just like you don't run your practice like everybody else. But I do think there's opportunities somewhere on that journey, and I think if you're not looking at wellness at some point, if you're not looking at skin laxity, if you're not looking at volume replacement, I don't share this with everybody, but I'll tell you that we redid our website, and anybody who hasn't checked in their website, every time you go back on there after you work so hard on the website that you're like, I just can't look at my website anymore. And you go back, at some point, look at it because who knows what, and you're like, holy shit, my website's outdated. And then you start the year process of redoing a new website and kind of researching stuff. We redid our website in March, and since we redid our website, the #1 most visited page on our website is Ozempic Face. Not even close. The first 4 days of the page up, we had 250,000 views. The first 4 days that it was up. And I mean, so just shows you, and it's not, and I'm a body guy, and so that's the majority of my practice, but just shows you how many people are searching these terms, right? So even if you're not doing the weight loss stuff, if you're not, most people on here are doing some type of aesthetic beauty type treatment stuff. So making sure that you educate your staff about this too, because sometimes they're like, oh, we don't do Ozempic in our office. Okay. But then they'll translate it. You and I know that, but then they'll be like, oh yeah, we don't treat Ozempic face. We don't do Ozempic in our office. And you've just missed an opportunity for a face and neck lift patient, for a, skin tightening, facial rejuvenation patient stuff. And so, I'll get to it towards the end, but we actually created these treatment plans. And I'll tell you, these treatment plans were more helpful to even our office staff than maybe the patients, because it set up our whole team to have the same image, picture, speaking terms of how we treat these patients. So I know I'm belaboring the point here stuff, but one of the things I get from a lot of people listening is I have zero interest in being a weight loss clinic, and that's okay. 100% think that's fine, but I think there's a huge opportunity, a huge need for for some of the sequelae of this, because like we talked about earlier, there's people who are going to be on these medications, even if it's not for weight loss. If you read the cardiology literature, there's a lot of people that are talking about this being the next statin, and people need to be on a dose of this. You see of this for brain stuff and prevention of Alzheimer's and dementia and other things. I mean, there's so many things. There's stuff in the about addictions and so forth. So I think you're going to see a lot of patients with some of the sequelae of this.
And Dr. Franco, before you move on real quick, if I can chime in, thank you.
Yeah.
You guys, the reason Dr. Franco and I wanted to come together and even bring this webinar to you and this level of education is, Dr. Franco's been our client for many, many years. He just mentioned the treatment plan. We've done a lot of videos together. And for those of you that know me and what I do and what I teach, it really is about how do we not just launch, grow, but scale, which is our aesthetic practice. And this is why we started our 4S Sales and Business Mastery Summit with myself, Isaac, and Dr. Renato Soltz, and Dr. Franco is there, and we're super excited. He's going to be running this workshop
multiple times.
I know, many times. He's brought his staff twice, many, like 7, 8 staff. He's running an entire workshop, which we're going to get to. But the purpose of this, and he brought up mindset, is that as we move into 2025, an election year, industry's down, everybody's worried. He's made a lot of great points about, we're not here to try to convince you to do it, don't do it. But I know from a consulting perspective, people are either struggling and they're doing it, and they're doing it from a medication-based perspective, right? Clients come in, get it, and they leave. And then they're wondering why the patient isn't getting this treatment plan, which we'll talk about. And or you're offering it and it's struggling. So we hope that the intention behind this isn't just his background and it is his successes and really what he's done. And then you're going to be invited to his program. But you guys do have an open mind, especially from what I do on the sales side, to say do you want a patient once, right? Or a patient for a lifetime? So we do have to be open-minded that you've paid money to get the patient in the door. Now that you have them in the door, how do you embrace them with all of the things that you guys offer so that they never want to leave?
And I think there's, just like any aesthetic practice, and you visit a ton of practices, not everybody has to have the same pitch, the same idea. I think there's a lot of different unique value propositions here, and you need to figure out where you can lean into. And I'm just trying to say that there is huge opportunity at different pinpoints here. You got to figure it out. And I'm going to share some of the spots that have been super successful and how we've integrated it, because I do think, and I'll get to the stats here in a second, I do think that there's availability to drive new patients in, which I think right now nobody is going to be mad at new patients coming into their office. But when they're new to the aesthetic world, it's a little bit of a different process than the person that like, oh yeah, Terry's did my mom's facelift, my cousin's facelift, my sister Ju's next door neighbors. I didn't like her, but I really liked her facelift, facelift stuff. And so a different opportunity. So it definitely is a little bit of a different conversation and work in terms of this. You've seen a few things about there, and just kind of want people to know, Eli Lilly made this statement that really created a ton of buzz stuff that the shortage was ending. The FDA came out very clear, very specific, that they decide when the shortage comes off of the FDA list stuff. They have said that they've made stuff available, but it's still TBD to see what happens over that. I also think that there's a lot of opportunities, because remember, different manufacturers, semaglutide, Roche has some new things. I don't know if I have that stat on here, but there's actually over 80 medications in some type of human clinical trial to hit the United States that's based on weight loss. So, I mean, I thought that number was absolutely astounding. You never know how many of them will actually reach market stuff, but to be 80 new medications, and the vast majority of these have to do with these GLP medications and these type of things, just shows you the interest, the money that's going to be poured in there. All these big pharmas obviously see that there's a lot of potential out there. So it's not going away in one form or another. The medications may change, but not going away anytime soon. This is the price cut I was telling you guys about. Eli Lilly's created this direct telehealth stuff where patients can actually go online, do a telehealth that's actually owned by Eli Lilly, and then they can get prescribed one of the low doses for our cash price stuff. And this is where, and I know Terry talks about this, all the time in terms of like, how do you create value stuff? Because if you were just trying to create a price thing and that was your only medication stuff, I think it's really, really hard. You know, the benefit that everybody on here has that other people don't is that you have so many other services that you can offer, you know, that they can't. So just to get into a price war with, you know, some of these big pharmas doesn't make any sense to me, but making a separate, you know, kind of, this is where we're taking people along this entire journey. So super, super cool in terms of how many new things are on the pipeline. Some of these are exciting. You know, so marketing this, you know, and this is where I'm talking about that I think you really need to take a little time to think. I love this concept of lead magnets. You know, a magnet lead is something that's a low barrier to entry that resonates with so many people, you know, and when you think about it, you want something that's going to get people into your office, that's going to start the conversation, and then you're going to help them, you know, reach their goals here. You know, for us, weight loss has been huge in terms of driving leads, driving people into the office, discussing this, and then moving them along that pipeline. I'll tell you, you know, when you have new patients in that aren't necessarily familiar with your practice, it can be challenging. And I think this is where, you know, some of the things that Terri does are absolutely priceless, because every lead is priceless. Every person that walks into your office is absolutely precious. And, you know, to miss opportunities if you don't return a phone call, you don't return a message, you know, you aren't following up with those leads, you aren't, you know, pre-calling those people. You know, we do the 3-date rule where everybody gets touched 3 times, you know, before we ever show them a quote stuff, because that's where you credential your providers. That's where you get them excited. That's where you make sure that they see value coming in. It's also where you make your office super efficient, because a lot of those questions have been answered before they come in and see you, and they see that value there. This is super interesting, and this is some of the stuff that Terri and I have been talking about is, you know, half of all Ozempic Wegovy patients are new to the practices where they receive their prescription or medication. So again, if you're looking at opportunity to drive new patients, I think this has been huge. If you think about the number of new patients taking this is where, if you're talking about, you know, the whole Ozempic face, body, those type of things, you know, I think it's absolutely huge in terms of opportunity. But this is what's interesting, and this is some of the stuff that I think takes time. I think is going to take, you know, effort stuff. 70% of patients that get on weight loss come to the office for some other treatment. So this shows you that if you think about it, those patients are getting other treatments. They are looking for something else, but it's not as easy as you think, just from a neurotoxin, from a skin care, from a dermal filler. You know, we've even changed some of the verbiage that we've used, because, you know, hey, you know, we have these fillers, you know, well, I've been full my entire life. I was that person. I've lost 90 pounds. The last thing I want is somebody to tell me, oh, we're going to fill your face back up. They're like, no, I just spent all this time and effort and money to not have a full face. And so, you know, even some little things like, how do you resonate with them? Structural, you know, support and stuff like that, I think is priceless in terms of some of the learning core. You know, we've developed this kind of concept called Ozempification of aesthetics. And I think in our practice, you know, thinking about how can we optimize people before surgery. How is our surgery going to change? I'll tell you, the surgeries that we do, and one of the talks I'm doing at ASPS is about, you know, some of this. How has surgery evolved? And I think that we're at such a pivotal time in plastic surgery of opportunity, which also too, I think creates opportunity. And this is where you can make a really unique niche. And you know, Terri and I have talked about this, and definitely want to keep picking her brain. And that's why I keep going back for more is, you know, most big cities have a couple people that really dominate facelift or BBL. But, you know, right now it's so new. There's very few people that are the Ozempic face person, you know, in Austin. There's very few people that are the Ozempic butt person that own a specialty in terms of this. And again, if you're a new person in a practice that's already huge, I have a few friends that are in practices of 8 or 9 people. How do you make a niche for yourself in these practices with such well-known kind of senior surgeon stuff? So I think there are some really, really unique challenges, which create unique opportunities for people that want to look into this. And again, gets to my point that doesn't just have to be the medications. There's a lot of other opportunities here. You know, it's funny. I developed this slide because our practice too went from just this weight loss medications, the GLP. I put this squiggly line because I feel like it's been our journey stuff. You know, sometimes I feel like I'm chasing my tail, going in circles in terms of this. And so if you're on this and you felt like that, you're not alone. I feel like most of us have, you know, at least a little bit. But, you know, we've moved this all into our wellness, surgery, med spa. You know, how do you make this all integrate into things? And so I'll talk about a few things that we've done in our practice to really integrate so that all of these feed into it. We've developed, and right now we have 3 pillars. We're working on our 4th right now, but we have our wellness, our med spa, our surgery, and then we're working our 4th, which is our research arm. So we'd have our 4 pillars of our practice, and then how do they all integrate together? And again, you have to measure, you have to be purposeful about it. To think that these are just going to passively diffuse from one pillar to the other doesn't happen at the rate that you're going to want. I was definitely that plastic surgeon that went to ASAPs every year. I had a med spa because someone told me I should, because that way I can make money while I'm on the beach on vacation, which I was never on the beach on vacation. But also too, it never grew because I didn't put any love into it. And if you don't put any love into it, then it doesn't really go anywhere. And so, the idea that it's just going to magically grow, just didn't happen for me. That's my little nugget asking for another treat stuff here. But you can see here in terms of pivotal time in plastic surgery, and this is what I'm talking about. So there's been this wellness wave, but wellness wave is more than just weight loss. I mean, there's this whole talk of peptides, hormones, genomes, regenerative medicine, and we've talked a lot about regenerative medicine in the past, but I think now there's actually some technology that really is meaningful, purposeful, and actually does something, which I think is absolutely huge. I think if you don't have solutions to skin laxity, and there's different options, but making sure that's something that you're talking about in your office, because skin laxity is going to be a major issue over the next 10 years. This is something that we should have a completely separate webinar on Terri, but tech and AI, and I'm not saying that you have to have all the tech and AI stuff now, but you need to start playing with it. You need to start getting comfortable with it. You need to have somebody that's helping you, because I think this is like the cusp of, when social media hit. And, if you don't at least start getting comfortable with it, you're going to miss out, because it is going to automate some systems. There are a few things out there. They're not quite perfect, but in terms of, lead gen, lead management, lead follow-up, those things that are going to actually blow stuff away. And you're not going to be able to compete from a, efficiency, from an effectiveness in terms of things. So I think there are some really great things that are right on the cusp. So start getting used to it. There's some easy ways with ChatGPT and other stuff, and happy at the end to answering kind of questions about some of that. I also think that there's a unique population, and this gets to the point of, where are we with things, and how do we do this? So, I mean, young patients with skin laxity, I still have a hard time giving a 20, 30-year-old a facelift. I think, though, that someone who's lost 50, 60 pounds, just telling them a few syringes of filler stuff isn't going to get you to where you need to be. We always talk about, I feel like men has been, anyone who's been in this space for a while knows, every 3, 4, 5 years, we're like, men is the next frontier, but we just switch out a picture from a woman to a man and think that it's going to magically happen. But, weight is one of these things that resonates with everybody. And so, I think now there's actually a real opportunity to speak to these people. Here's kind of how we've set it up in our office, just to give you a little teaser of kind of what we've done. So we've developed this program called Biohacking Beyond Beauty, because I think at this point, if you can really get it in with your patient stuff, it's more than just beauty. It's this overall health, wellness. And, all of us that are in the aesthetic space, believe in this, right? We want to get people to a healthy spot. We want to get to where you want to be. The better you feel, the better you're going to look, the better everything's going to go. And so no question there's weight loss, but now you can even do these custom lab evaluations where they can do it at home. You can do it in the office. You can send it to their homes. They can take it home with them. You can do hormones. You can do labs in your office, whatever you want to do. And now it's never been easier. And part of that ease is what makes it, meaningful for people. And then this rolls over to it. And like one of the things that we're rolling out in our office, I'll give you a little insider tip, is that for any of our patients that come in for their mommy makeovers, those type of things, we actually do a custom lab, complimentary custom lab kit for their significant other, right? So they give the gift of wellness. You've already driven somebody into your office. There's the chance that somebody's going to have hormones, peptide stuff that are off, and a male that's in their 50s. I mean, the statistics are about 70% that they're going to be off, and so you're giving them this gift, you're going to check this, so not only are they going to feel better, but they're going to be motivated to this. So again, little ways to integrate to low-hanging fruit of people that already trust you, love you, they're super happy, and now you're fixing a problem for them, and for like a lot of men, it's just getting them into the office. But if they're already coming in with their significant other, and now you can do this all in one fair swoop, makes it super easy. So again, just some little things that you can do, and doesn't have to do too many to kind of move the needle for most offices. I think nutrition and body composition, this is where some of the AI stuff I think is super interesting to help with this, to make it easy. Anyone who's trying to count calories, macros, other stuff, that's a pain in the ass. But if you could just take a picture of your lunch and it gives you a report, and then every day it tells you, hey, you ate too much of this, do more of this, and it automatically does it and sends you a report. I think about that, and then it's tied to your office, so I mean, so many ways to drive patients in through that. Then you can make your custom treatment plans based on those AI stuff. But again, this isn't taking a ton of office staff to calculate these, right? It's automatically doing it. You can send people, hey, here's your update, let's get you in to talk about this. As you guys can tell, I'm super passionate about this because, I've lived the journey. I'm down, almost 90 pounds at this point. So it's changed kind of how I live, how I feel, and definitely well, honestly, everything that we've brought into the office, I've personally tried. I really don't love bringing something into the office unless I've personally tried it and love it and think that it's helpful for people. I know most of the people on this call do the same in terms of things. Let me get this down so I can keep seeing. This is my journey in terms of things, and just trying to give you guys an idea, kind of our practice evolution kind of rolled with me in terms of how we did this. So I started our weight loss stuff in October of 2022, kind of made some personal revolution, if you would, messed with my own doses, and then started doing some other things to really do this in terms of peptide therapy, diet changes, lab work, hormones, balancing. So, it's been interesting because I've kind of followed my own personal journey, and that's what's led this to kind of my personal needs is what's evolved into our practice. And you've kind of seen this now as a society in terms of some of these needs and wants. And this is where I think this evolution around the weight loss revolution, and we call it like weight loss revolution and beyond, because now there's so many other secondary parts of this 360 body composition, nutrition, skin laxity. Now that we've had people in the program, and I'll tell you, if you're just starting the program, you don't have a ton of people asking about skin laxity because they haven't even lost any weight yet. And we definitely bring up our treatment plan at the first day, and the majority of patients are like, oh, no, I'm just here for my weight loss medication. I don't need anything else. And it's like that, and that's fine. And I'm not telling you to be pushy stuff, but at least you've brought up the idea. At least you've talked about it. And then, they come in the second month. I'm not your aesthetic patient. I'm not here for that beauty stuff. That's not my bag. I just want to lose weight. I just want to get into a little bit better shape. I'll tell you, once you hit 3-4 months, you start getting a bunch of compliments. You start looking good. All of a sudden, like they come in, new jacket, new shirt, little pocket square. You're like, I know you're not interested, but if you ever want, let's talk a little bit more about it. It's been absolutely like mind blowing, because the same people who are like, I'm never interested, I'm never going to do any talks, I'm never going to do any filler, they're like, okay, I've changed my mind a little bit. And it's because the better you feel, the more excited you are, the more compliments you get. It's human nature, right? Then you want to do this. But if you're not in mind and you're not, talking about this and make it easy for them, it's hard in terms of stuff. But also too, I want people to understand you got to be patient about it. If you just think that, oh, they came in for weight loss, I talked to them, I gave them a treatment plan, and they never booked, but you never followed up, never talked to them again, and then wonder why they don't convert. I mean, you've missed opportunities. I mean, how many times do you go buy something and you're like, I'm on the fence on it? I'll give you an example. I just moved into a new house. I went to buy a TV. Anybody who's been into Best Buy or something recently, like there's a million choices. And I was completely lost of like where I want to do. How much better is this one that costs $5,000 versus the other one that's $500, and trying to figure out like what I actually need. And, I was asking one of the sales guy people that I was like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I need. And they're like, there's a couple here. They're all about the same. I was like, okay. So then I was more confused, and probably was trying not to upsell me, but it didn't really help me in terms of things. So honestly, I left and didn't buy anything. And then I came back a week later, and this guy comes and so he starts asking me, and he's like, tell me about your room. It starts asking me, he's like, so which TV are you going to watch the most? He's like, well, do you play video games? Do you watch movies? What kind of movies do you like? So started getting this conversation, but then I felt like, whether he did or not, or whether he was just ignoring all my answers, I felt like he actually knew me. Because, okay, for what you're talking about in this room, this is the one I'd recommend. This is the one I'd recommend. So then actually gave some thought and things in it. And it meant so much more to me. And this is where, Terri, if anyone's ever listened to her talks about this, it's all about asking, questions. And anyone that listens to like Alex Ramosi or other stuff, you never want to go for the sale too quick, right? Because you really want to understand what you're doing so you can make a real recommendation for them. And we do that in our consultations now for things, right? It's like, hey, tell me, what's your biggest issue? What don't you like about your breasts? What don't you like about your tummy? Oh, because, you can start recommending stuff that doesn't mean anything to them. And sometimes people feel like, oh, I'm overselling them. But I walked into Best Buy. I walked in there to buy a TV stuff. So like for them not to tell me, here's your options and here's your speakers and here's your stuff, they're not doing me a service, right? Because I took time out of my day to drive there and do this. So just some things that hit home personally as I've kind of been through some of this. And I think it's hard for them. So here's our wellness program itself, so we do weight loss, testing, screening, labs is kind of a different issue in terms of things. If people have had labs and stuff recently, we don't make them just get another set just because they came. If they already bring something, and we do that. I'll get into a little bit. There's some new phenome testing that is absolutely mind-blowing in terms of like personalized medicine. I've already done mine. I'm just waiting for my result stuff. But imagine the day here and talk about personalized medicine. I feel like it's something we throw out all the time, but this world where you can actually do these tests, it actually looks at your genetics, your lifestyle, everything, and then puts you into these like, kind of algorithms in terms of treatments. It can actually predict with about 90% certainty how effective the GLP medications will be. It shows that, if you test a certain way, the GLPs will be twice as effective as something else. If it gets to the point where these are super costly, imagine like being able to dictate that. It also tells you if there's other reasons for this, so then you can tweak their medication. So, I mean, again, if you're looking for a way to stand out from every other practice, how many practices right now are like doing full genome testing? That's something that is super price reasonable for patients, and then being able to like guard them through. And even if they're not ready to do all those things, like, hey, look, here's your category. If you want to start the GLPs, I get it. You're predicted that you're only going to lose about 10%. So, if you don't want to do the other things, here's some of the things that we need to be mindful, because from these tests, it looks that you really eat a lot from emotions, and so let's talk about that. Let's figure it out. And again, no other practice is going to do that. I'm getting lost in the weeds because I'm so excited about it, and it's been so exciting. And I'll share my results once I get them. Supplements, body composition, because especially as you get further along, weight. Everybody knows this. Weight doesn't necessarily change the scale, especially if somebody's exercising, doing other strength training stuff. So actually seeing their body composition is such a great way to have meaningful conversations with them, and then that can evolve into your treatment plan. I think there's this AI, this metabolic health with a company called Lumen, regenerative medicine, being able to really do something, and those things are coming right down the road stuff. Here's like some of the custom evaluations we did, with the genome testing, the phenome testing in terms of the effectiveness of the GLPs, being able to do these custom lab box stuff. Because for most people, it's just a thing. Like, nobody wants to go to a CPL lab. Nobody wants to spend another day going to get labs or having something trying to coordinate. So imagine if you could just take a box home, send it to you. You basically go online, set up a FaceTime, and they show you how to do it. You drop in the mail. The next day I'll go into work, and that's it. Done. And then you get your results a couple days later. So I think so many more ways to add value. I think these personalized treatments, when you can do things, and there's other things on the market. I've liked this because it's easy, because it gives you a lot of data stuff, things, but being able to truly engage with them every month, really being able to track those, for anyone that does plastic surgery or fillers, you do all sorts of before and after pictures. Why wouldn't we do this with our, weight and wellness management? So if we can be able to do this, we can have such a more meaningful conversation with practices in terms of things. There's so many good data that you can do. We're actually looking into being able to measure some other things for patients to even make this a more meaningful outcome for them in terms of things, because I do think it gives you a more meaningful picture of your changes over time. And what keeps people engaged, right? When they know that they're making progress. And so sometimes if they haven't changed the scale, they think they're not making progress. But if it's like, hey, your overall BMI has gone down, your body mass composition has gone up, and then what's funny, and then we've seen is that it's even led to more E-stem procedures, whatever you have in your office, whether it's M-Sculpt, Pure Impact, those type of things, because people, some stuff they didn't even notice. They're like, wow, I didn't realize my arms were so off. I need to focus on that. What can we do to help with that? And so, it's nice because now you're addressing problems that they specifically have. This is some of the things I'm talking about. They're just starting, some of the AI features of this, but the idea that you can actually look at some of these things in terms of like your sleep data, your activity log, the fact that they're rolling out a portion of this where you can actually just take a picture and then figure out like exactly where what kind of calories, all the stuff you're having. This is something we're going to roll out for all of our patients that have been non-responders, and because now we can help them through that journey. Again, another way to keep them engaged. Those reports come to the office every month, so you can help guide them. Again, I truly believe in foot traffic through the office. The more foot traffic you have through the office, if you have a good system, is going to lead to keeping all your providers super busy. So I think that's super important. And then we've done this because I talked earlier about how do you create a full like circle? How do you connect all these pillars? And so we have this pre-procedure peptides where you can actually, you want to get people off the GLPs ahead of time before a surgery, but we want to optimize their outcome. There's some peptides that help stimulate your own growth hormone, other things that are going to help them with their recovery. And I think this is just another great opportunity to help patients along that journey that's now turning your wellness into benefits for your surgery or procedure patients. This muscle mass movement, because there's so much talk about losing muscle mass. So, how do you do that? Whether it's some of the peptides, whether it's your e-stems, whether it's your hormones, your balancing. Again, it's giving them a full treatment plan. We do it for our facial, rejuvenation. Why wouldn't we do it for our wellness program? And I'm down the home stretch here, so because I want to make sure there's some questions, but this is one of the treatment plans that we developed. We actually got some more stuff coming that are almost like prescription pad stuff for the whole wellness, so that you could actually do it just in terms of that first evaluation. But being able to talk about this at the very first go, like here's the Ozempic face prevention and treatment plan. This is the treatment plan that we present to them. We talk to them right at the beginning when they come in, and again, 99% of them are like, oh, that's okay. I'm not here for this, especially if they're new to their practice, but it starts it. And then you should see, and then like for us, we have our drip campaign set up. So then they get a text, and they get on our Skinny Shot Squad email list. So then we're just talking about this. So they're just getting, again, information. And our weekly email to our Skinny Shot Squad stuff doesn't try and sell them anything. All it is like, here's information, here's something new, here's an update stuff, but it keeps them engaged. It gives them information. So then when they're ready, people are like, hey, I saw this, you guys been talking about this, I'm a little bit interested. Where can I go? And so I think builds momentum. Don't want to be salesy, but definitely want to make sure here's the things we can do and very stepwise about it. I will tell you,
Dr. Franco, before you, I want to let you finish your thought, but I wanted to ask, because I know I get it all the time, and I know obviously that's what I do for a living. And again, you've been to us many times, and the sales training that I do when I go to practices. But when you adopted this model, and you said, right, back in the day, you were like just a surgeon, right? Just a surgeon. Did your med spa because someone said, oh, I should, and right,
yeah.
You didn't water the grass, and it didn't really work out. And I know we're going to get there, but if we could just pause for a minute, because I think everybody, I know we're chiming in the chat and people are asking questions, but this is a hard thing for people to adopt. So it is a mindset shift. When you did this, and I do want you to comment on your team went from what to what, because I think you're up to what, 90? Well, anyway, I want to get to that. Where were you a couple years ago? And then where are you now? And when you adopted this model, what did it do for you and your business and your patients?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, our practice went from we added about over the last in 2023 we added 60 new employees. 60 new employees. We're up to about 90 employees right now. So trying not to cross the 100 threshold, but we'll see what happens in terms of that. It's definitely hard. It's definitely been challenging in terms of things, but I do think some of it was an overall kind of mindset change in terms of how we marketed, did this. I mean, now we have a marketing budget for our med spa, for our wellness, for our plastic surgery practice. In the past, we only spent money on our surgery side. I think one of the things that's been kind of best for my longevity and life and so forth is, if you go back only, 3 years ago, I think I was something like 90% of the revenue in the practice. I'm now less than 20% of the revenue in the practice. And anybody that knows me knows that I operate 5 or 6 days a week. And so it's not like I'm only in the office one day a week.
You're not taking up time.
So
you're not at the beach relaxing. You're really
no. And so, I'm not operating any less than I was, but I mean, I think it just kind of helps and shows that bond. Honestly, for anyone who's in solo practice, something, you feel a lot of burden, because when I started practice, I gave up snowboarding because I was so afraid of breaking an arm or wrist or something. Because then what am I gonna do in terms of that? So definitely been nice to have that. It's also given us an opportunity to really bring in some other kind of strong providers and people that have helped. To your point, though, and we talked a little bit earlier, I do think that, anything that you don't measure, anything that you don't evaluate won't grow. And so I do think a key component of this cross conversion is being super purposeful and thoughtful and meaningful about it. To just say, oh, and I did this all the time. You get a complimentary consultation with the esthetician. And if somebody's new to the practice, they don't even know what that means per se, right? They're like, okay, well, they don't even know what they do. It doesn't resonate with them. They're just like, oh, okay, and so maybe they do, maybe they don't. But hey, everybody that starts our wellness program, we give you, or you hit your goal, we give you a complimentary, e-stem treatment. So then they get a treatment, then it's on the esthetician. Like, and you got to think about whatever makes sense in your own practice, but there's something that they're trying to treat, right? That makes sense. Hey, you're gonna lose weight, but some people lose a little bit of muscle mass, and conversation for another day about the true science of that. But muscle mass stuff. But what we do is we treat this. You've already hit first 20 pounds. Let's do a complimentary consultation, and treatment. So you feel it, see the difference for it, see how it helps you kind of get over that hump. But you can kind of see where it has a real reason that resonates with them, and so there's a purpose for it, and that's been super helpful for us in terms of that. Here's just a couple stats stuff just to kind of show you our overall growth in terms of office visits from weight loss. Like I said, we're just under 2,000. If you think about this, and I didn't put this slide in here, from a overall, so this is just our weight loss, which has led to almost 4,000 office visits per month. And if you think about 4,000 office visits per month, that's how we've been able to keep our injectors, our estheticians, or other people. Do I wish that some of the providers were busier? 100%. It's always a work in progress, and I think that conversion stuff has been harder, but no question, we're working on it. I think our monthly revenue stuff, you can see year after year, 2022 to 2023, to 2024, and so even with the economic change stuff, we'll still finish up this year, which I'll take as any positive as a win this year. It's definitely, I'm not going to tell you that it hasn't been hard for us too. I mean, no question, we've had to work hard to make value and really a good experience for our patients. And I think it's definitely been a learning curve. We all got a little fat and happy for a while where patients were coming in left and right. And so I think all of us kind of revamping, but to be able to double those revenues year after year, I think has been a pretty good feat for us. Kind of in summary, because I want to be able to answer some questions, be sensitive to people's time stuff. The weight loss revolution stuff is here, and it has exploded. I think that it's definitely evolved from just weight loss, and where I think if people get a lot of calls to just want to involve, start a weight loss permanently. Number one, you got to be committed to it. If you're not going to take the time, if you're not going to really do it, there's better ways to spend your time and effort. Just having the medication isn't going to be enough anymore, and so it really has to be thoughtful. Just like if you're going to add a filler or toxin or esthetician, like what's your true business plan of how you're going to integrate this, how you're going to train your team to do that. I think it needs to be a comprehensive approach, just like you would do for any of your other aesthetic treatments. You wouldn't have somebody just come in and offer them one syringe of filler and then be like, okay, good luck, and hope that they call you again in 6-9 months. It doesn't make any sense. Same thing for the wellness program. So I think this is going to change how we manage patients, even with a lot of the large societies. We're trying to integrate some of this. We're trying to train, provider stuff. I think there's so much for us to learn. I think there's such an exciting time. So hopefully this was worthwhile for you guys. And I'm happy to answer kind of any questions and anything that you guys want. So thank you. This is my little nugget that you've been seeing barking in the background with his little grumpy face.
Dr. Franco, that was amazing. I don't know if we have well, let me open it up to a couple of questions that were in the chat. All right. So first question is, what are your thoughts on Eli Lilly's cash pay option for Zepbound?
Yeah, I think one, it's a big move in terms of trying to limit a lot of the plastic surgery, aesthetic, med spa stuff from doing it. I think they're trying to combat that. This is where, again, I think that if you're just trying to offer only the medication, then there's not a lot of value versus them just getting the medication from there. And I think this is where, just like Terri teaches for other stuff, what's the benefit if they come into your office? And if that's not a shot across the bow that this needs to be a true program and not, just simply a medication, I don't really know what else there is in terms of things. And this isn't the first time they've done something like this, right? Back in the day, they offered the $50 coupon cards, and they had people do it for 3 months and then charged them, $1,000 afterwards. And so there's been other types of things in terms of this. I think they also know that there's other medications coming. Their triple G medication will most likely, hit the market sometime in 2025, that will be equivalent to bariatric surgery, in terms of how much weight people will lose. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think it's just another meaningful thing that you need to diversify your program. You have to offer them more than just the medication, or I think it's going to be really, really, really hard. And so, yeah.
Dr. Franco, do you have the last slide that was on that deck about the 4S stuff and your program?
Nope.
It would have been like the very last one, I think. I just want to put that up so people
Yep.
can, there we go, there we go. Hey guys, I'm going to still continue with the questions, but I'm going to just chime right in. Again, we're trying to be respectful of time. I know it's late East Coast, but as Dr. Franco mentioned, myself, Isaac Muesli, my ex-partner and co-CEO, and then Dr. Renato Schultz. And then again, Dr. Franco has been instrumental in coming, but we started the 4S Summit. This will be our 6th event. It's basically a 2.5-day down and dirty business summit. It's taking place in Florida, Fort Lauderdale, the 5th through the 8th. And we just wanted to recognize all of you for showing up today. It's not going away. We get asked every day, Terri, how do we scale businesses? How do I train my team? And you guys, it won't matter what program, what staff, what marketing, what website, what laser, none of it really will matter unless we have a foundation of how to set our business up for success. And that means understanding what makes money, what doesn't, the KPIs, the training is the foundation. So if you guys want to learn more about the 4S Summit, we wanted to give you guys an extension, regular price for both Dr. Franco's workshop on Sunday and to come to the 4S, which is $2,500. We'd like to offer it to you guys for $1,850, huge savings. Just wanted to put a shout out there. You can email elliot@terriross.com, scan the code, but we'll leave this up. Okay, Dr. Franco, so a couple more questions. Let's see, bear with me here.
There's one about cost. And I think cost is always going to be a huge issue in terms of, for everything that we do. And this is where we really, really try to educate people in terms of kind of the overall segment stuff. I think that, you're going to see a spectrum. Not, I can only speak from our practice. I'll tell you, we definitely have patients that leave because they find some introductory offer. They have something in terms of, there's a lot of practices that, and I'm not casting stones, there's no right or way to do this, that price it based on like the dosing or different things stuff in terms of stuff. So I think that I think adding value. I think if you're just trying to be the cheapest, Eli Lilly is going to make this really, really hard for people. I think there's going to be, some different issues with that. 100%. I do think if you can find some different tiers though, right? So like a lot of times it's how do you get people started? How do you show them value in terms of what you do? And then you can do the other stuff. And there's a couple really good studies that show if you can give them like 3 choices, most people pick the one in the middle because they feel like they don't want to be the base, but they want to do something a little bit more.
Love it, love it, love it. And I'm typing back to some people as well. Okay. Another question is, can you expand on the wellness wave and AI?
Ooh, so I don't know that the wellness wave is just specific to AI for wellness, but I do think overall. So one, I think AI is going to help in terms of AI is going to make a lot of the tasks that we do super efficient. And so you're just going to be able to get done so much more with so much less. If you're just looking at wellness, some of these treatment plans and stuff where it's super expensive to have a nutrition and other stuff, because if you're getting back to cost, right? Like Lumen, I love, I don't have any financial stake in this, because basically here's a device that people can buy for $300. They blow in it. It tells you what your metabolic output stuff. They have an AI app. They can take a picture of it. It gives you ideas. They have nutrition built into it because it's got this nutrition guide onto it. You can build a platform that's $15 a month. So now you're giving them nutrition guidance stuff. And again, you're making it super cost effective for them, but still giving them value that they're not getting from, some of these telehealth and other things. So, I think AI is a way that you've combated costs, still giving them real good value and made it super efficient because they can do it whenever they want at their own home, whether, their schedule's at 10 p.m., 5 in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 10:30, it doesn't really matter. So that's one AI. I think other AI stuff is going to be even when I'm looking for titles for some of these talks and other stuff, I'll put stuff into Chat GPT and be like, hey, here's some of the stuff that I'm looking for in terms of things. And it gives me some options, some ideas, and it helps with that. I'll tell you from an efficiency standpoint, when I'm trying to do a blog or write some articles, something for an interview, I'll be at the gym on the Stairmaster. I'll dictate it into Google Docs. And then my team just knows to always check the Google Docs to see if there's anything from the morning. They'll actually run it through ChatGPT to clean up this dictation, replace the words that don't make any sense, that, sound out of breath. And then it prints out, the thing, and then it's done it. So now I've been super time efficient in terms of things. You can also do it, to look at some of your, looking for keywords, because, I'll give you guys another kind of inside tip stuff if you don't already know, just for being on here tonight. If you still think of social media as like a dancing or just social media, you're missing out. Start thinking about it as a search engine, right? So if you look at, one of the reasons TikTok did so well is that they actually had a interest-based algorithm versus a time-based algorithm. They've started to merge more into this, and so when you write your captions, it should be like you're writing a mini blog in terms of this, so it's searchable, because so many people go through it and look for it. But you can actually, if you don't even know, what you want to do, you can go onto the Chat GPT and stuff and be like, hey, help me write, for breast augmentation, an SEO searchable caption for my social media post. Boom, it's done. And again, like, now you're not having to outsource that, pay somebody a ton of money, and it's super efficient. It took you, probably, 15 seconds, or depending on how quick you type. Those are a couple examples of AI. And again, those aren't super hard stuff, but if you don't get comfortable with it, you'll get left behind as some of these things are moving forward.
Okay, Dr. Franco, and this is a big question. It's a big question that I get all the time, that you get, but you are, you're like a guru marketer, and it didn't happen overnight. And I think everybody has to realize that, again, the marketing spend, there's a KPI tied to that, right? And we talk about that at 4S, and I'll give it to you now. It really should be 10% of your total revenue, more if you're new. But then it's about, where is those marketing dollars going? What's the quality of the leads coming in? What are the conversion metrics? What time do they come in? I mean, we teach a whole host of things you have to measure. You just do. Otherwise, you should throw the money out the window. And then when the calls and the leads are coming in, how well is your team trained to convert? I will drop the mic, but so there's probably been 3 people that have asked a question. How do we drive leads? How do we drive skinny shot leads? How do we drive people in? Is there a specific agency that you use, or what are your marketing recommendations?
So I'll tell you, social media is our number one driver, but social media in terms of posting it, like, we will on Instagram alone, typically on the stories, post about 15 times a day. We'll post 3 or 4 times on the feed, and then we do the same for Snapchat, TikTok, those type of things. So we're posting all the time, but also trying to post that it's meaningful, and so, like, we have a smart board where we talk about it, explain it, because, the idea is trying to educate people to a good path, because you want them to see you as an expert, trying to think of questions. Again, this is where you can use like Google Trends if you're not even sure what you want to do. Like, what are people searching for? You can actually do this on TikTok as well, as you can search their analytics and see what people are searching on TikTok now, which is super interesting. And so that was an easy freebie add-on for you guys. That one I love. But I'm always telling people to be a little cautious. We do a ton of social media ads. Those do really well for us. But if you don't have a system with a CRM, a system that's going to follow up with them, you're going to waste money. And so I do think they're super effective. But if these are cold leads, these aren't the same people that know you, you really have to have a system that's going to respond to leads right away, that's going to follow up with them. We have our system, where we follow up each time. And so, they get answered the first 24 hours, then they get moved to a second touch, third touch, fourth touch, and then they also go into our drip campaign. So that way they're getting the text messages, at your cadence, whatever you want it to be. And so, like, if they're a weight loss, they get a whole cadence of about 9, messages between text and emails over the next 6 months. And so that way they get a few right afterwards, and then it spaces out. And then they start to get the Ozempic face and butt and so forth. Plus, all of them go into our Skinny Shot Squad, newsletter that they get every week in terms of things. So those are some of it. But I guess what I don't want to do is tell people go spend a ton on social media ads if you don't have a system where you're going to capture and follow up with them. Because remember, a good social media ad, probably converts at, depending on how good and well you run it, an absolute phenomenal one of cold leads on social media probably converts at about 15%. And that means that you're running really, really well. If you're starting out and you don't really optimize it, you're probably going to run it, 7, 8%, conversion stuff. And that's what, following up and doing those things. So you got to have a good system or you're going to spend a lot of money and you're going to be frustrated. I hope
I
that
know.
didn't lose people in the weeds, but I also don't
No,
want to.
no, but and you guys, I'm gonna take just a minute to be just a little bit self-serving, but if you all know me, you know that it comes from a place of love and passion and bullish and bold because all we want to do is give back. We didn't build the 4S Summit, right? Just out of boredness, right? And if you guys can see, like, and some of you on this call have attended, so I love you, I thank you, and I hope you're gonna come back. But like, this is the training, to Dr. Franco's point, the money and marketing won't matter if you don't have right? The systems and the training people, human, in place to do it. It just won't. So, for a super small investment to come see us and to come see his program on Sunday afternoon. I mean, he's making what, Johnny? I think you don't really care if we share. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, our weight loss program does almost $1 million a month.
I mean, I don't know about you. Sign me up for that. I mean, I'd love to make $1 million a month. So if you guys are really, again, you're stuck, you're figuring out, what am I going to do? Because Dr. Franco, that was one of the other questions. And it was, like, how much harm do you actually do to your practice if you don't offer something to these patients?
Terri, you know that one, I've been a client of yours for a long time. I've known you for years, and so at all sorts of different aspects and stuff. And so I think at least on 2 or 3 different occasions we've sent groups of 5 or 6 employees to the thing, and we'll have I think another, I don't know how many people. Heather emailed you guys the other day, trying to weasel a deal because she wants to send like 8 people to the course stuff things.
I love it.
And so because 100%, I mean, think about how much you're missing out if they're not trained and and I don't get anything if you send them to Terri's course or not. I'm just telling you, this is what we do, and so we send them there because I think that it helps, for a surgery, the difference between booking at, 50% and 60% is a huge difference. If you're booking at 30% and you can book at 60 or 70%, I mean, think about that difference over the course of the year. That stuff doesn't happen by accident. I'll tell you, over the last 2 years and if you kind of take the COVID time out of that, we were booking at about 40%. We made a few little changes. Now we typically book between 66 and 70%, depending on the doc and the month in terms of things. And so, which we still have some room to improve 100%, but it's not horrible. And so, we're trying to get to probably about that 75% bent range stuff. And so, but there's little things that go a long ways. And it's just, gosh, there's such little things that make the needle stuff in terms of things. And what's funny is in the past, we were just sending our call center salespeople, patient care coordinators. One of the things that's interesting is now that we're actually taking some more of our providers, our injectors, our people stuff, because they are the front lines. And I think in the past we were so standoffish about it because most of us didn't get into being providers and things to sell people. But, if you really start to see this as like we're educating, we're informing them. And especially if you're bringing new patients into the office, I think it's so important and just being comfortable with that. And sometimes, and I know you do a lot of role playing because I've been in it, and it's, super uncomfortable sometimes to be the one role playing, but gosh, sometimes you got to be uncomfortable to get over that hump. You got to push yourself, and it's hard. And when you hear it, I think you start to get the feeling.
Yeah, and I want to leave you guys with this, almost a little bit of homework, really, because I want to hear from you. So DM me or Dr. Franco or reach out, or I hope I see your beautiful faces, if not before December. But if I want to invite you to go back to your office in the morning, and I want you to look at, like, what is your average spend per patient? Like, what is that number? DM me. Like, how often do they return? What are your retention rates? Do you build a treatment plan? And I know we all think that we do, but when you start to go, well, wait a minute, my average spend is X, and sometimes it's really low. We're not doing it in the way. And I think Dr. Franco sharing his $1 million a month, it's not just in the weight loss. I mean, he shared almost 4 business units. And so everybody is going to need all these things. And whether you have a program now or it's not working as well as you'd like it to be, that's what you're going to learn when you come right to our event and see his program. And so go check, you guys, some of those data points and let us know. And then one last question, and then we'll let you guys go for the night. Thank you all so much. Johnny, do you have Dr. Franco, like a specific CRM that you like or use, or?
And you beat me to the punch. I was going to bring that up because Isaac does such a good job of tracking stuff. And if you're afraid of using Excel sheet, if you're afraid of using some of these things, I think he does such a good job breaking this up because it's hard to even make decisions if you don't track your data. It's funny because I have a lot of people that tell me, "Oh, I book at 95% rate of my surgery." And I'm like, 95%? You do? And I was like, well, what do you use to track it? It's like, oh, we just remember. I was like, no, you don't remember.
Yeah.
You remember the ones that book. You don't remember the ones that never came back in terms of things. I also think that the CRM stuff is so important because how are you going to get those people into your drip campaigns? How many people are you missing? You can track the time. Like we use AdVital, which is part of the Go High Level base stuff. But Dr. Patel, if anybody knows him, did a phenomenal job. If you're looking for something that's a more turnkey stuff, he's had a lot of the stuff built into it. So if you have a small office, I think it's super helpful to be able to just kind of set up and go. But the nice thing is everything goes into one spot, whether I'm at home, whether I'm in Miami, whether I'm in Vancouver, at ASAPs, doesn't really matter. I can check and see whether there's leads out. First thing I got into this morning, and I check it. It's the first thing I do when I get in the office, I see how many leads we have. And then that way I can track and see what time they all get cleared. I went in this morning, I had 181 leads, that came in over the weekend. Sending mass emails like, hey, we have to get on this. We got to touch base on all of these before the day's out, and so sure enough, they did it. We have a big team to follow up on those, but it's just, if you're not tracking it, people don't know. If they know, and they know that I'm going to check it first thing in the morning, check it before I go to bed. You can see the time to every response. The cool thing is you can actually even see every message on there, so you can text right with them back and forth. You can send them the link. So you're missing opportunities.
Oh my God, you're speaking my language, you're music to my ears about what you say, because you guys, 45% of people are almost never followed up with at all. So, I loved it. It's almost like Dr. Franco's using our same language and terminology, but that there's very few things we can all do, but those 1% changes over time have an exponential difference on your practice and your team and your growth and your revenue and your value prop and all those things. So, if there's not any last questions, I think we answered them all. Dr. Franco, thank you so much. I love you to pieces. I love our collaboration and our partnership, and I'm so proud and honored to have you on here always. There's been some great feedback about your program in the chat. So anybody, again, if you guys want to learn, he has a program, the Weight Loss Revolution. He's going to have an entire workshop on Sunday afternoon at the 4S Summit. You're not going to want to miss it. He's going to be on a panel with us on days before, bringing back his team now the third time. So we would love to see you there. And again, please either DM me at Terri Ross Consulting or Dr. Franco. Get back to me with those numbers, you guys. He just said it. It's like inspect what you expect. And if we're not, we just don't know. So I love y'all so much. I hope you found this valuable, and I cannot wait to see you. Bye, Dr. Franco. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks.